Okay, welcome. Welcome to the second workshop, which is TSDSI uh, organized workshop on standard-driven research. I request Professor Arshad Kherani from IIT Bhilai and Professor Radhakrishna Ganti from IIT Madras to chair this workshop.
Uh, Thank you, Professor Radresh. Welcome everyone to this. Yes. As I was saying, welcome everyone to this workshop on standards-driven research. We have an exciting list of speakers and panelists. Before we start, I would just want to tell the speakers and panelists the time because it's a very tightly packed workshop. I also ask the participants to be interactive, and you can post your questions in the chat box and we will try to answer as many as possible. We will start with the welcome remarks by Professor Uday Desai. Professor Uday Desai is the founding director of IIT Hyderabad. He is a professor emeritus at IIT Hyderabad. He was the chancellor of Anurag University and a honorary professor of Woonsung. He was the mentor director of IIT Bhilai from 2016 to 2017, and the mentor director of IIT Chittoor for the first IIT Chittoor for the first 5 years of the founding of IIT Chittoor. So Professor Desai has been associated with TSDSI from the beginning, and he was a mentor to a lot of people in TSDSI. So I request Professor Uday Desai to provide his welcome remarks.
I think things are happening in this Zoom thing on their own. I don't seem to have much control over things, so you have to excuse me for that. Somebody, I think, sitting in Kanpur is controlling everything, so which is okay. Okay, so welcome everybody to this particular workshop, and it is really I must thank NCC and Professor Karandikar, Director IIT Kanpur, for hosting this particular workshop. I think we approached them a little late also, but they were very nice and I think kind enough to accommodate us. Also, this workshop, the genesis of this workshop is in some sense related to 5GI, as we call it today, or LMLC as it called earlier. This was standard-driven research which was done at various institutions, particularly IIT Madras and IIT Hyderabad, which has made a big impact, and still the work goes on. And what we felt that in the Indian ecosystem, if we have to make an impact and create standards which would go eventually into telecommunication, and in a broad sense, academia will have to play a very strong role. Okay. Partly, I would say, and this is a little loaded statement, I mean, we don't have a Qualcomm, or we don't have an Ericsson, or we don't have a Nokia. I mean, these are the ones, which lead some of these activities in the United States and Europe. Okay, but in India, it is academia which has typically led a lot of such activities, and LMLC and what is called 5GI is a classic example of that. So that was the background with which we have been working at TSDSI to create some kind of an ecosystem where more people in academia would come forward and get involved in standard-driven research. Today, Indian academia does a lot of research work. I mean, in fact, they have done, compared to what it was maybe in the 80s and even early 90s, the research output is very high. But typically, it is towards publications, maybe sometimes patents, sometimes prototypes, sometimes field deployable prototypes, etc. But standard-driven research is somewhat nascent in Indian academia, and we would like at least the leading academic institutions. And it is really nice that IIT Kanpur has taken the lead in having such a workshop. It indicates also their intentions. And NCC is not simply IIT Kanpur, it is a group of all IITs and IISc coming together to host this particular conference. Okay. So in that sense, I'm extremely happy. And I think such workshops hosted by academic institutions at academic institutions will give a strong push towards creating an environment where faculty members, students, the PhD students in particular, where they write their PhD thesis, will have research content which have a direct impact on standards. It will take some time. Okay, I don't think it's going to happen overnight. Okay, though we would like it that way, but I think one has to be a little patient. It's going to take some time, but it will happen and it will make a big impact out here. I think I'll take a little extra sentence out here to say that, IITs in general will also have to encourage within the institutions to recognize, this kind of research, that is research which leads to standardization. Okay. Currently, in selection committees, we have many of the IIT faculty who are out here. The director is there. I've sat through many selection committees. This kind of research, it does not come at the top. I think, fine, it doesn't come at the top, but at least I think it is time to give some weightage to the research which is being done, okay, for standardization. And hopefully the fact that there are so many directors today involved, I think Professor Karandikar is there. I think Professor Chaturvedi would be interacting, and there may be some others also. I don't recall all the names right now. Okay, I think it will make, I think Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy is there. I think at some point he will join. I think if the directors get together, they can make an impact. Also, the fortunate part today, if you look at the directors of IITs in particular, and IISc a little earlier, there are a large number of them who are in telecommunication. Professor Anurag Kumar was there at IISc earlier, and now we have Professor Karandikar, Chaturvedi, Bhaskar Ramamurthy, and many others. So I think, telecom research which impacts standardization can make a big difference out here. Having said that, I'd like to take a moment here to reminisce a little bit about NCC. Okay, I was involved with NCC right from the very beginning, but I had the good fortune of meeting Professor Maskara. Not many may perhaps know Professor Maskara in this panel that is here today. He retired quite some time back from IIT Kharagpur. It just so happened that I ran into him for a selection committee meeting. Okay, so, and I thought it is nice to meet. It was his dream to start NCC. I think this is the 26th or 27th NCC, if I'm not mistaken. People here can correct me. And I think one must give credit to him. It was his dream way back, more than a quarter of a century ago, where he said, no, the joint telematic group should have one such activity, okay, which will kind of continue after the group. And in some sense, today, the JTG does not quite exist, though there are some remains of it, which are being still there. Okay, so, and Maskara did make a huge contribution, and there were all of us at that particular point who were involved in it. Professor Sinha, who was deputy director at IIT Kanpur, and in fact, the teacher for many of us at IIT Kanpur. And of course, Maskara also was a teacher of many who have graduated from IIT Kharagpur. Professor Sahasrabuddhe was there. He's no more with us. Okay, there were many. Professor Junjunwala was involved. Large number of us were. Bhaskar Ramamurthy that time was involved. And I think it has really come a long way. NCC today is one of the leading communication conferences in the country. And it's really a pride for the telecommunication group to have this particular conference.